Apple Trackpads.
Let your fingers do the walking.
Welcome to the Macdownunder Podcast for all Australian Apple computer enthusiasts and collectors.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Macdownunder Podcast. I'm Justin, and thanks for all the likes and comments on our previous videos. Apparently last week we missed the fact that the Apple Bandai Pippin has a face. And lots of comments came in across multiple platforms mentioning things that have faces. So thanks for that, and I reckon that's an idea for a future episode. Macs that have got faces or something similar. Previously, we've spoken about Apple mice, and this week we're going to cover some other Apple pointing devices, this time Apple's trackpads. We'll also cover collecting news, coming events and recent finds. So now to introduce my co-host Matthew. Hi Matt, what have you been up to since last week?
G'day JD, g'day everybody. Look, over the last week, it's been a little quieter for me. I spent some time on some LC575s. Listeners, viewers will know that's one of my favourite machines. So I had a couple of parts machines that had been donated, and I spent some time just going over those and trying to do some consolidation there. JD, you really learn quickly the brittle plastics, which we talk about, so often.
I bet.
It's just so unfortunate when you're trying to get into things there, and it seems like it's just inevitable that something's going to break as you're trying to get there. But doing things as gingerly as possible and as careful as possible. But the LC575s, that was a bit of fun on the repair bench. I got a couple of new recap kits put together. There's on eBay and the Mac Museum store, you will find recap kits for the TDK LC series power supplies. And I sent off my first classic analog board kit as well. So that one will hopefully hit the store in the next week or so as I get some supplies. But that one was successfully installed by someone, which was great. And apart from that, just a few other bit of housekeeping things, JD. But that's been about it for me. But I know you've been out and about and had a few things to report on in the last week, JD. What's been happening?
Yeah, I have, but it must be really gratifying when you have someone purchase one of your kits, because they don't cost much. So they're a really good value kit, and it must be really gratifying when people report back that they've used it and they've got their computer working again. I mean, it's gratifying for us to do it ourselves, but it must be really good to see someone else fix theirs as well.
It is. No, it is great, and I love getting the feedback, and particularly some of the little cards that I put in the kits too, to show people where they need to install things. The reference kits, great to get some positive feedback on how helpful those are as well. So,
Great. Yes, so I went out to the technology market at Darebin last Sunday, and thanks to a friend of the show, Declan, who had a demonstration next to me and looked after my stand when I needed to pop off and eat and do whatever. So as you can see there in the picture, I took along the TAM. It ventured out for its second showing. And based on last week's show, I had two of the production Pippins running. And what you can see in the picture there is racing days on both of them. And I was desperately trying to get the two to talk to each other, because apparently you can network this game. I've tried all sorts of start, restart configurations, but I just couldn't get them to talk to each other. So if anyone that's watching knows how to network these two things and get them to do the network game, please let me know the secrets in the comments or contact me directly, because I would love to know how to do it. And I spent all day trying to fix it, and I couldn't. However, it was great to play racing days. Interestingly, I think I might have reported last week, in one of the reviews that I saw online, someone played Racing Days as one of the better games on the Pippin and said they couldn't get past 8th or last place. And I haven't been able to do that either until Sunday, when a visitor came along. I'm sorry I can't remember your name, but I'm sure you're probably watching, and nailed it. First place, first time. And I was in awe. So clearly I'm not a gamer.
Impressive.
But it's like those things, it's like the 4-minute mile. Until you know someone can do it, you probably hold yourself back. And so I played it for a few times in the afternoon. I got to second place. That was my best outing.
Oh, very good.
But enjoyed the game. Look, it's not the highest quality game. It's a 1995 game, let's face it. But a lot of fun to get the Pippins running to do that. I had Marathon running as well. Had a bit of a play with that. I can see why you like it so much. Unfortunately, it doesn't network on the Pippins, so that's a shame. But we'll have to crack it open over the Christmas holidays and have a play with Marathon. Anyway, so that was my weekend, and otherwise I've just been doing some slow studio upgrades for the podcast. So as we were chatting off air, I've got some new lighting, which probably people can tell, and I've got a new microphone, which probably people can tell as well, and obviously we've reconfigured the screens, and thanks to Matt for your input on all of that. So that's been my week.
No worries. That is a great setup you had there, JD, with those Pippins, and I was really enjoyed the screenshot or the photo, I should say, you sent me of Marathon running on the Pippins. So I'll hope that we can maybe get you to bring them down to the museum at some stage. Maybe we can work on the network configuration there. But what a great setup! You got a really nice handful of Pippins there in your collection, which is great to see.
Yeah, and people were drawn by the TAM actually, and then once they had finished with that, it's like, so what's this? So it worked out really well. Well, we better get on to today's episode. So we're used to mice now in the Apple world, and touch-sensitive screens and magic everything, magic keyboards, magic trackpads, magic mice. Don't know what's going to come next. There'll be another magic something, magic camera, I don't know. But back in 1979, when keyboards were pretty much the only input device, Apple actually came up with their first non-mouse related input device, which was the Apple graphics tablet. So this dates back to 1979, and it was a revolution in the Apple world because for anyone that ever programmed graphics on the Apple II, pretty much the integer or AppleSoft basic commands allowed you to put dots on the screen and lines and so forth, but it was really tedious if you were trying to actually make a picture because you'd have to do it, by dot or by line. So this graphics tablet allowed you to sketch straight into the Apple II. So a very, very early form of trackpad, but it involved a stylus that you can see there in the picture, and an interface card that was dedicated for the graphics tablet that you would put in your Apple II, and brilliant. Now, Apple actually licensed this from Sumer Graphics, who made a very similar tablet for serial interface cards for other computers. The PC wasn't around back in '79. As I mentioned, it required a specialised interface card, a digitising pen, and it's quite large. So I haven't got it with me here. It's out in my collection area, but it's 38 by 38 centimetres. So it's really quite big, which is handy if you're trying to draw something. Images were at a 280 by 192 pixel resolution, so sounds tiny by today's standards, but remembering the Apple II's resolution is not that high anyway. With the retail price back in 1979 of $650 US. So you can imagine what that would be in today's money. So I actually used one of these at school. The school had one when they got their first Apple II. And so I remember using it back then and completely in awe, and you could change colours and not so much what we're used to with paintbrushes, but you could certainly change the width of lines and those sorts of things. And it was great to use. And so when I got the opportunity to get my own, I had to rush out and get one. Now, in doing some of the research, what I found out is probably not too surprisingly, because these things were electromechanical. So the pen itself had a wire coil in it, and it interacted with the wire grid behind the graphics tablet. So not too surprising that when you turned this thing on, it interfered with all the analog TVs in the neighbourhood. And so as a result, in America, the FCC actually pulled it from the shelves and told Apple they couldn't market it anymore. Apple did come out with a second version in 1983, sometime later, that came with slightly different connectors, so that's how you can tell the difference. They've got a DB9 connector rather than these ones. But it was really quite late in production. So the Apple IIe was out. The third-party Koala Pad, which a lot of people used, which was a much smaller device but much more reliable, had been out for a little while. And of course, in 1983, the Lisa had been released with the first mouse and a graphics program, and clearly the future was moving away from these large style graphics tablets. So that's the Apple graphics tablet from 1979. Did you ever get to play with one?
I've never played with one. I actually haven't seen one. I've seen one once in the flesh. I don't own one, but it just looks pretty cool and actually quite impressive, I reckon, for 1979. So that's that's I think very impressive technology. I can understand why the cost would have been what it was, but yeah, to hear that you actually used one as well, JD. Have you used the one that you've got in your collection? Does that?
Yeah, I don't have any Apple IIs that are working at the moment because I need to pull out all the reefer caps and do some maintenance. But yes, when I got it quite a few years ago now, I couldn't wait to plug it in and give it a try. And it just brought back so many memories. But of course now, with mice and touchpads and trackpads that we're talking about in this episode, it's a bit redundant. And the only thing it did too was sketch in a dedicated application. So it didn't control the screen in any other way. Of course, there wasn't a graphical user interface back then. It was a text-based interface. So it was a very, very early precursor. But I think, in the lineage of trackpads, I think you can see Apple clearly had the idea that we needed to be able to use our hands in things in ways other than touching the keyboard.
Yes, that's it. Oh, very cool. That's great to see.
So that was back in 1979. And from what I can tell, Apple really didn't do much in the trackpad era. Obviously, the mice started with the Lisa in 1983, and we've talked about those. So I'll put a link in the description for the mouse episode if people want to catch up. So it wasn't really until 1994 that I can find when the PowerBook 500 came out with the trackpad, which I had a PowerBook 500 at 540C at the time. I've still got it in the collection. And I remember I loved it. I didn't like trackballs much, which the trackpad replaced. And as we know, it would allow you to point and click and not much else. It was pretty much point and click. There was no scroll. There wasn't much else available for it.
No multi-touch.
Oh, definitely nothing that we're used to today. That in fact I'm using controlling the recording in the background here today. But it was integrated into the laptop. So we're not going to cover those because we'll probably talk about laptops later on. But if we fast forward a couple more years, in 1996, Apple was sort of at it again. So strictly not an Apple product, but the Bandai Pippin, so we talked about these last week, designed by Apple, had this optional extra in 1996. So it's a combined keyboard and trackpad. So when you look at it, some people think, oh, that'll be an extra screen. It's not. It's a trackpad, or it's a graphics pad, in fact. Sold by Bandai, both in black and in platinum to match the two different units. I've only got the at-world one. I'm actually looking for the platinum one, but they're quite expensive for what they are. The important thing, I guess, here was that the interface was a standard. So it was the Apple desktop bus that it connected to. And again, based on our conversations last week, it was the Pippin, PADP version that it connected to. But you could get adapters to use it with your Mac if you wished. There are also rumours I found online of a wireless version being developed, but it was never released. Now, so that I could talk about it, I actually plugged it in yesterday and had a bit of a play. And oh my goodness, you wouldn't go out and buy one of these if you wanted to do work with it. There are far better options.
Right.
But the keyboard works fine. And the power button you can see there just next to the At World on lots of early Mac keyboards. That works fine too to power on and off the Pippin. But the trackpad, oh my goodness. So you can't orient it. There's no calibration in the software at all. So if your trackpad for whatever reason isn't calibrated correctly, and apparently mine's not, you can't get to the whole screen. So I couldn't get to the top of the screen with my pen.
Right.
And you have to have a software title that's actually got the correct drivers to run this particular device. So I think we had it played out in the museum with the very early version of the Bandai Works program, which had a graphics program. It doesn't recognise the tablet at all. In fact, most of the titles that I've got don't recognise it. The more recent At-World version of TV Works does recognise it, and it will even recognise it to allow you to control the menus, although again, if it isn't calibrated well, you can't get at some of the menus. But it certainly allows you to draw in their version of Paint. It's not hugely accurate, and as you can probably tell from the pen that's there, it's really just a stylus, so it's a touch-sensitive screen. The other issue that you'll find is that light grey or white button that you can see next to the screen, that's the equivalent of the mouse button, and you've got to hold it down in order for the drawing to be recognised. Otherwise, it just moves the cursor around on the screen. Now, I'm left-handed, so trying to hold that mouse button down and draw on it was a real challenge with my arms crossed. So for me, nice to have as a collectible, but I don't think you would ever use one for, real life, real world purposes these days. I mean, it's 1996 anyway, so there you go. So don't rush out and buy one unless you find a really cheap one and you're really keen to collect. And again, we might crack this open again at the museum and let people have a play with it. So what else did I do? Oh, yes, so I even tried the recent titles. And even the most recent title, which was Macintosh for Pippin, codenamed Tucson, was meant to be spelled Tucson, even that didn't have the driver in it to recognise. So it's got pretty limited operation. Okay, so fast forward to the following year, and it's a whole different story. In 1997, the 20th anniversary Mac came out, and this picture here is of the trackpad, which could actually be removed. Now, I'll just change screens for a moment. So I've actually got the whole keyboard here. So this is the TAMS keyboard and trackpad, and as you can see, the trackpad's centered, but you could remove it and use it completely separately, which I thought was just a brilliant idea. And not only that, it's connected via ADB. So you could just plug it straight into your Mac and use it as an ADB trackpad. So I guess in terms of computer trackpads and external trackpads, this one, the TAM is really the first time we get a good look at a Mac using an Apple-based trackpad. This one, it's based on the PowerBook 3400's trackpad. And as I said, it comes with its own ADB cord and connector. And like all the early PowerBooks, it allowed you to point, click and drag, but not do much else. So that's the TAM. Now, in terms of collectability, well, yes, you need to find a TAM to do this. Although I did notice there's a TAM keyboard available separately right now on eBay America, but pretty expensive.
I'm just about to ask if you see them come up separately very often, JD. So.
No, they're pretty rare to see anything from a TAM that's separate. I think unless someone's broken their CPU and they're parting out the rest of the machine, which I think might have happened because in fact there's a power supply subwoofer available separately at the moment as well. So I think exactly that has happened. All right, moving forward, we get up to the Magic Trackpad version 1. Now this is a picture of mine on my kitchen table. But I believe you've got one in box.
I do, JD. And friend of the museum, Declan, was very generous to let this one live down at the museum. So there's the box that it came in, which really doesn't provide too much wasted space there when we have a look at it bundled in there. And if I pull it out just for a look, I reckon that quite a few of our viewers have probably seen these around, because it is a very modern product compared to some of the ones that we've just talked about, and possibly still lives on a few people's desks in good service. I'm going to make an admission that when I first saw it come out, I bought one. And I thought, this is not going to last. This won't hang around. I can't see the use case for it. But the big thing with the Magic Trackpad when it came out, it was wireless, of course, so connecting via Bluetooth. The big thing for the Magic Trackpad was that it brought the multi-touch technology that we'd seen Apple bring out in their MacBook line, brought it to the desktop so that we could have multi-touch available to us on our desktop Mac as well, which was very cool.
Yeah, and I think it had a couple of, actually we better talk about the date. So it came out in 2010. So technically sort of breaks the rules of our podcast, but I think we're probably going to do that a fair bit next year. I just get the feeling. And I just love the design, and it matches the wireless keyboard, the aluminium wireless keyboard as well. And I just thought the two of them, and I'm sort of foreshadowing our for sale section here, but the two of them together just were a fantastic match. And we'd not really seen that before in any of the Apple desktop products, that there was sort of aligned design, if you like, between the keyboard and other desktop devices. So I thought that was wonderful. You mentioned it was Bluetooth and powered by 2 AA batteries. And I think that's the way to go, because at the moment, I had to charge up all of my desktop things for today's recording. I had to charge up the trackpad, I had to charge up the keyboard so that I knew it wasn't going to fail. Whereas if it's batteries, two AA batteries, and it dies in mid-production, you just swap the batteries. You don't have to wait to charge it up. Yeah,
that's it, exactly. So.
Well, you've got it there. So the clicking mechanism's a bit interesting in that one too, while you've got it out. It is.
It's got so it clicks off of this base here with these two rubber little bumps there, and the whole thing sort of clicks. It's so incredibly hard to demonstrate this. In fact, it just looks like I'm holding it there, but I'm actually clicking with it. But it is glass on the top as well. I can tell you that because the one I've got it at home and had in use for a short period of time mysteriously ended up with a crack on it. So on the corner, but still functioned fine. But interesting device, and like you said, JD, the profile of it matches the wireless keyboard that went alongside, which was nice to see as well.
Certainly does. So that was the Magic Trackpad version 1. So a few years later, in 2015, we got the Magic Trackpad number 2, designed to match the new Magic keyboard. So again, very much in that similar design. And this one introduced the solid-state Force Touch trackpad. So I've got one here, and a bit like you, it's going to be a bit hard to demonstrate, but you can probably see there's not a lot of room between the surface and the mechanism, so it sort of squeezes together, but it doesn't click, which is quite amazing, because when it's powered, you get a haptic response. So there's a motor inside that actually generates the click, and you can feel it through the device, which I think is just brilliant. So this gives you solid-state Force Touch, which means the trackpad can actually feel the severity of your click, and so you can modify a whole range of gestures in that way. It had the rechargeable lithium-ion battery charged by the lightning connector that you can see just there alongside the on-off switch. But to be honest, today I had to charge up everything and to make sure that it was going to work for today. And I really think having swappable batteries would be a fantastic addition, so that if something died mid-production, you can easily swap it out and get the wireless component working again. You can always plug it in and it'll start working straight away. But which in fact the earlier Magic Mice, in fact even the Magic Mice of today don't do, interestingly enough.
No.
But it would be very nice to be able to just swap the battery out and continue operating wirelessly. Fast forward to 2017 and Apple brought out a space grey colour of the Magic Trackpad 2. Now I've got a dark coloured one, but mine's actually the silver. Oh, you probably can't tell. Mine's the silver and black one, not the space grey and black one. So the space grey was for the iMac Pro, and the silver and black one came out a couple of years later to match the Mac Pro in the newer cheese grater version. And of course, what we know is that there's a whole heap of colours in 2021 to match the M1 iMac. And I've got to say, I'm not collecting every colour of the Magic Trackpad 2, particularly when secondhand the coloured versions are well over $100 each at the moment.
Not yet. You're not collecting them yet, JD. So again, that could change.
Stay tuned in 10 years, who knows? Yeah, that's right. And then, of course, in 2024, with the introduction of USB-C for everything, they upgraded the Magic Trackpad 2 to include the USB-C charging rather than Lightning charging. Now, depending where you look, on quite a few of the wikis, they'll actually refer to that as a version 3 of the Magic Trackpad. But Matt and I were chatting about this offline, and I think you're quite right. I think it's just a variation of the Trackpad 2 because it doesn't really change any of the features at all. Then I haven't got one of these, but the honourable mention is for the Magic Keyboard with Trackpad for iPad. Now, I hoped that my son might have had one of these, and I asked him yesterday, and he doesn't, even though he's got an iPad Pro. But these came on sale in 2020. They're still on sale now, and even secondhand, they command hundreds of dollars, which I don't quite understand because they're a pretty basic design. But the Magic Keyboard with Trackpad for iPad certainly, I think, probably hits the list because it's an accessory, it's an external device to the iPad.
I had another honourable mention here, JD, which I thought I could just slip in, and it's not hardware specifically, or not Apple hardware anyway, but I thought it's noteworthy to say that we're actually two. I've come up with another one just as I've been thinking. We need to, I think, pay respects to the fact that the Newton had its, its touch-sensitive screen on there as well. That's the quick edition that I'll put in, and of course, the stylus when we were talking about tablets and stylus input. The other one I was going to mention, a bit more contemporary, is the inclusion of the software in macOS 10, which popped in Jaguar for support for graphics tablets at a system level, which was really cool too. So
Inkwell, which was based on the Newton software.
That's it. Yep, that's it exactly. Which was very nice. Like I mentioned, I think last week we talked about Apple reflecting on past technologies and whatnot, but the Inkwell technology in Jaguar, and at a retail level, at least here in Australia, I'm not too sure if it was international, but you could get a bundle of macOS 10.2 Jaguar with a Wacom graphics tablet at the time. So I remember we had that on display at the retail store I worked at. So just thought it was worth mentioning those as well. And of course, JD, if we go down that path, we've got all of the the touch technology that started with the iPhone into the iPad. But ultimately, I think when we were talking about the trackpad as well, came into that.
Yeah, if we want to go down that rabbit hole, we've even got the version 2 of the iPod. So the touch wheel was in fact touch sensitive, built into the device, so probably doesn't quite fit the criteria for today. But again, it was another version of a trackpad, but it was circular.
That's a really good one, JD. I like that. That's that's very accurate.
Before we get too carried away, so for those watching today, do you use a trackpad? I use it all the time. So this black one is the one that I'm actually currently using to control the recording today. So I use it day to day. But which one, if you use a trackpad, which one do you use? Maybe you use the original glass one. Maybe you're on a TAM and you're using the ADB version. We'd love to know. So let us know down in the comments. And also, if you've got any suggestions about future episodes, like the couple of comments we've got about things with faces, let us know down in the comments. We've got a heap on our list, but it doesn't hurt to add more. So if you've got some ideas, let us know down in the comments. We would love to hear from you. Okay, up to recent news. So the first thing that came across my feeds that I thought might be of interest is the Apple II mouse interface for the A2 Pico. Now, I admit I haven't got one of these, but I think I'm going to have to get one. So for those that aren't aware, the A2 Pico was designed by Oliver Schmidt. It's an Apple II interface card that uses the Raspberry Pi Pico as a co-processor that emulates a whole range of things. So the same card you can configure to run as an SD card and USB storage device. You can reconfigure it as a super serial card if you haven't got a genuine one. You can reconfigure it to be a smart port card if you need smart port for other devices. You can actually run it as the Apple II Pi, so you can run the Apple II in emulation on the Pico and then use your real Apple II as the keyboard and interface for it. You can use it as the Appli card, so a Z80 co-processor running CP/M. It's got Pico I/O support, so you can actually log in and run the Linux operating system on the Pico using your Apple II as a terminal. And most recently, the big announcement in this one is it can now be used as a mouse card as well. So the card itself is open source, so you can download the PCB and make them yourself if you wish, or if you want to purchase a pre-built one, Joe's Computer Museum sell those. So I'll put links down in the description, but if you're an Apple II user and you don't already know about these, run out and grab one, because I think I will when I get my Apple IIs running. Next up in the news, we've had a few 3D printable things on recently, and here's another one. So user Roland Juno, who I suspect must be a musician because Roland made a keyboard called the Juno. I happen to have one of those too. Shout out to Roland Juno. But in his Apple life, he's made some 3D printable things. So the first one is a AA battery tray for the Apple eMate. So for those of you with an eMate, I know Matt's got at least one, possibly a couple, and I've got one. If the batteries have died and you need to replace them, then you can print this tray, put in standard AA batteries and wire it up, which I think is a great idea. And when I went to check his files to download, I discovered he'd previously made the same thing for the MessagePad 2000 series as well. Which again normally came with a rechargeable single cell that sprang out. But if you didn't have a battery tray for it to run AA batteries, he's got a 3D printable one for you as well. So I thought they were two great 3D printable things for the Apple Newton MessagePad and eMate.
That's great.
So time for coming events, and the first area to talk about is the Mac Museum, Matt. And I know we've had the last open day for 2025, but what have you got in store for 2026?
Yeah, so 2026, there'll be some open days in January. I'm yet to firm up on the dates specifically, but the idea is that I will be looking forward to spending some of my time off from the day-to-day job down at the Mac Museum, and we'll probably be tinkering away and doing things here. So I'd love to have the doors open for other people to wander in. So once I've got those, I'll publish the dates when I can expect I'll certainly be here. And it also might be the case that there's a few that pop up sort of ad hoc, which I'd post to social media. So if you're not following Mac Museum on Facebook or Instagram, please like, subscribe, follow, and stay in touch for when the museum will be open again next.
I certainly will, and I hope everybody else does too.
Yeah, thanks, JD.
Okay, placeholder here for WasFest. So WasFest 42, I think, was held just recently, possibly just last week. There are no more dates for this year, but if you watch the WasFest page, I'm sure they will update for new meetings in the new year.
Okay, so coming up with our technology markets, JD, as you mentioned, you just attended one most recently on the Sunday just gone. So the next one that we've got coming up on the 14th of December at the Springers Leisure Centre in Keysborough is possibility of having the vintage computing enthusiasts come along to that. So I would just earmark that one in the calendar if you want to get along. So that's at Keysborough, and then following that back at Darebin on the 21st of December. Not yet confirmed if that would be a vintage enthusiast gathering there as well. But yeah, at this stage, keep an eye on the 14th of December.
And yeah, I'll put the links down in the description so you can follow the technology markets and see any updates.
That's it.
The Adelaide Retro Computing Group have their last meeting, I'm assuming, for the year on the 12th of December. In their usual place at the Unley Community Centre. But before that, they've got their Retro Computer Swap Meet, which is on the 29th of November. So coming up soon from 10 until 2, also in the Unley Community Centre, links down in the description.
And coming up on the 6th of December, we've got the Retro Gaming Bendigo event. So that's at St Killian's Hall. So bring along your favourite gaming device, retro gaming device. So there's the invitation for Pippins or games loaded onto your Newton, and or maybe PowerBook that has some games on there as well that you could easily take along. But if you're in the Bendigo area, great to get along to that one. JD, you and I have spoken about getting up there at some stage. I know it won't be the December one for me, but
I have penciled this one in the diary. Can't make any commitments right at the moment, but I am hoping to be there with a Pippin, at least one.
Wonderful. I have to say as well, just, there is regularly things I see pop up in Bendigo on the various for sale pages, some of them that we put up as well. So there must be a nice community up in Bendigo. It's a beautiful spot in Victoria. So yeah, hopefully if you're close by and can get along.
This week's for sale section. So I've focused very heavily on Apple trackpads because they're so easy to come by. So I don't know, Matt's already read the notes. You might see I've done a bit of a state-by-state comparison or competition, depending how you want to look at that, for trackpads under $100. But I've also put in a ringer, which we'll actually start with in the USA. So the first one we've got is from the USA. It is in fact an Apple graphics tablet. As I talked about, I think it's the forerunner for the trackpads that Apple had. Let me see if I can get a good photo of it. Tricky to get a good photo of it. There we go, that'll do.
In the box as well.
In box. Now it is missing the interface card and software. So it's the graphics tablet and the stylus, and it looks like it's got the grid that overlays on top of the tablet as well, which is important. They're really hard to find. So this is currently at auction, and as you can see on the screen, they're currently at around 121 Australian dollars. Now, you won't find this if you just search on eBay Australia, because it is not available for shipping to Australia. So you have to log in with a US address to find it. I'll put a link down in the description, but you'd need to arrange your own couriers from the US to get it to you here in Australia. So that would be an added cost of probably a couple of $100 Australian as well. So this one's at $121. I haven't listed all the others, but there are a couple of others in the $350 range Australian, but they're all missing something. So this was the pick of the bunch, just as I guess a demonstration that they are available outside of Australia if you're really keen to get one.
Hey JD, can you just flick across? There's an interesting sticker on the box for this one with an FCC RF. That sticker there I found very fascinating, just saying available with a waiver to the regular FCC sort of regulations, which was fascinating, and referenced that RF interference, I guess, that you talked about when earlier in the episode. But I just thought that was a really interesting thing.
They must have come to some agreement.
Yeah, if it's interfering, you're required to take all all steps necessary to correct the interference. So interesting artifact there, I thought.
Put a metal cage around your Apple II and your graphics tablet.
First up, we've got our Melbourne trackpad at $30 here. So version 1 of the Magic Trackpad.
Inbox too?
As you said, JD, inboxed, yeah, and as you mentioned, very reasonably priced.
Yeah, also in Melbourne, while we're talking about it, there is one cheap trackpad too. I thought it was worth mentioning because it was the cheapest I found in Australia on Marketplace. So $50 for your Magic Trackpad 2. Now you do need to point out that there are clones around. So just make sure it's a genuine Apple one with the Apple logo on the back of the device. But as best I could tell, this looks legit, but do check before purchasing.
Next up on eBay, we've got an incredibly affordable Magic Trackpad version 1 at the moment, starting at 99 cents. It is an auction, so you will need to compete against at least one other person that's put a bid in on this one. But this ends Thursday, so you're watching this as soon as this episode airs, we'd say tomorrow. So that's potentially a very cheap way of getting a trackpad. And this one, you're just going to have to help me out, JD. Where's
New
this
South
one
Wales.
located? New South Wales. There we go.
So New South Wales, here's the spoiler. New South Wales has got the cheapest trackpad versus version 1, particularly if it's this one, coming in at 99 cents. Also in New South Wales on Marketplace, there's a trackpad with effectively a buy it now of $29, which happens to be $1 cheaper than the Melbourne one, which does make it the cheapest buy it now. But if you can get one at 99 cents on auction, go for your life.
If you're in the ACT, here is a Magic Trackpad. Now this is the black and silver version, available for $90. It's been marked down and has been around for a little while, so you might even be able to talk with the seller and negotiate down a little bit. So it's been up for 7 weeks since as we chat here today. So maybe an opportunity for some kind negotiation, respectful negotiation.
And from what I can see, it is in fact the cheapest coloured trackpad 2 in Australia at the moment, across all the platforms I could check. Okay, we're back to our Magic Trackpad 1s. This one's in Brisbane, Queensland for $30. So similar price, but if you're in Brisbane and need one, there you go.
And another version 1, this time in South Australia, $40. So again, I'd say pretty reasonably priced.
Moving over to WA, things are a little bit more expensive over there. So $40 for the Trackpad 1 over there, but wait for it.
Here we have, JD, the Magic Trackpad version 1 coupled with the keyboard, the wireless keyboard from the day. And as we'd mentioned in the episode, they were styled to go alongside each other. This one comes with the third-party accessory, the click hinge dock, to put them together so that you can easily manage them both. They're I'd say, physically bundled together with that accessory there. And I found that these are great if you're using it on the couch. If you had your Mac Mini set up as a TV entertainment unit, this was a very popular way to control it from the couch with one of these type accessories. So I think reasonably priced, considering you get the keyboard in the mix as well. So, and that's marked down $70 in WA.
Yep, very reasonable. I've always wanted one of these when I was using that version of keyboard and trackpad. So I'll need to have a think about whether I want to bring one across from WA, I think. Right, well, that's our trackpad episode. Thanks everyone for joining us. Matt, any final thoughts about trackpads before we go today?
I'd say I'm very impressed with the Apple II, the graphics tablet. So while it's I guess a sister to the trackpad, like you said, JD, shows us early signs of where Apple was looking for other input devices. I think it's really cool. I hope to maybe get one day. It seems like we'd need to buy 3 of them from the US to couple them all together to get one of each to get a complete set. But I think also just the tip, like you mentioned there as well, that you need the software. You have to have the card as well. So as we were just looking at, if you are going to buy one, make sure that you know what you're getting and all the parts are there. But I think again, personally, trackpads, not for me on a day-to-day use case. JD, great to hear that you've got one in action and find it useful. So, but yeah, very interesting to discuss as always, JD.
Yeah, I think the evolution from that graphics tablet, before really mice were around, joysticks weren't even being used back in 1979. Paddles, Apple II came with a paddle to play games, which was basically a dial and a switch, but quite innovative. I mean, I know they licensed it from a third-party supplier, but they clearly saw that was part of the future. And look at us now with Magic Trackpads in just about everything. And touch-sensitive screens. The news out that the MacBooks next year might get a touch-sensitive screen as well. Touch everything. So let your fingers do the walking, as we titled the episode. Thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate any comments to help us improve or ideas for future episodes. So please let us know down in the comments what you're thinking about. And if you're using a trackpad, let us know that too, because I need some support on the trackpad side of the fence. We'll be back again next week, so like and subscribe so you don't miss out. But until then, take care, and we'll see you soon.
See you later.
Thank you for joining the Macdownunder Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.